Hi, you guys. This is Richard Sachs. I'm your host on Lost Arts Radio. Welcome back. It's nice to be with you again, and got a really great discussion and show for you tonight. This is a guest that I really enjoyed last time, and I think a lot of you did too. We got great feedback. And this is Sam Osmanagich, the discoverer of the Bosnian pyramid complex, including a main one, if I remember right, that's bigger than the Great Pyramid in Egypt that gets most of the publicity. And this is a recently uncovered complex, and it's still in progress, and there was a conference that was held there just recently, and Sam offered to come on the show with us and explain, for those of you who weren't in Bosnia and those of you who want to hear about it again, what happened. And then we're going to go on to the beginning of the many subjects that we didn't get to last time, and I think this will go by in about 5 minutes, my estimate is, and we'll try and pack in as much as we can in the time. So welcome, Sam, and thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm really happy to be with you again. The Bosnian Pyramid Project has been around for 14 years now, since my first visit to the central Bosnian town of Visoko. The first year it was a one-man show. I was doing some preliminary research, geological core drilling, lab analysis, and then I did figure out that what everybody called natural hill, or in this particular case natural hills, are actually a complex of huge artificial structures.
So when you first saw those hills, Sam, what made you think there were pyramids there? I mean, that's not the average response to seeing some hills, right?
Exactly. Well, when we say pyramid, we usually think about the Egyptian pyramids at the Giza plateau, those three magnificent Egyptian pyramids, which for some reason are called Khufu or Cheops pyramid, Khafren, and Mykerinos. Mm-hmm. And they've been telling us the pyramids were built as tombs for the pharaohs. However, out of 155 pyramids in Egypt, not a single mummy has been recovered. What does that mean? The pyramids definitely were not tombs for the pharaohs. Or they're telling us about the Mexican pyramids. They were built as the places to sacrifice the enemies. Again, wrong. Only the most recent one, Aztecs pyramids from 12th to 16th centuries, were witnessing some ceremonial sacrifices. All others, Mayan pyramids, Olmecs, Meztecs, and the others, no sacrifices. So, to answer your question, what made me think that it was a pyramid? Well, instead of having an idea that pyramids are built only in Egypt and Mexico, we have to know that they were built all around the planet. I've been researching pyramids in the last 35 years. Probably I have investigated and visited more pyramids than any other living being. Pyramids are built in China, over 200 of them in the central province of Shanxi, all of them being covered by vegetation. Pyramids in Cambodia, Koh Ker, beautiful pyramid in northeastern Cambodia. Pyramids in Indonesia, western part of the island of Java, 26,000-year-old pyramid. 7 pyramids of Mauritius, 224 Nubian pyramids in northern Sudan, 43 on the island of Sicily in Mediterranean, 104 on Canary Islands, most of them on Tenerife, more than 300 of them in Peru, pyramids in Bolivia, pyramids in Central America, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico, more than 100,000 of them. 97% being in the jungles covered by forests. Finally, pyramids on the US soil. We have more than 120 so-called Cahokia mounds, in reality pyramids. So the wall of the past was the wall of the pyramids, and majority of them have been covered by vegetation today. So when I saw what I later named the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, from afar, you can clearly see regular geometry, 4 sides, triangular faces, corners, but covered by vegetation and the grass and bushes and recently planted forests from 1960s and 1970s. But for my eye, I knew that Chinese, Mexican, Guatemalan pyramids were covered by vegetation. I was looking at the Bosnian hill, as they call it, 4 sides, triangular faces. I took compass showed me perfect orientation, east, west, north, south, and I knew that all others, China, Egypt, Peru, always perfect alignment with the cardinal points. For me, there was no doubt that it was a huge artificial structure, which was, after thousands of years, covered by soil. Now, I started investigating. We realized we have not 1, but 5 pyramids, which we named the Sun, the Moon, Dragon, Earth, and Love. And then later that year, 2005, I discovered entrance to the underground tunnels. Today, we have cleared more than 1.5 miles of prehistorical underground tunnels. It's a huge, sensational discovery. Now, in the last 14 years, we realized that archaeology, Egyptology, geology is simply not enough to explain this huge complex. So high-tech disciplines, geophysical, geothermal, georadar, satellite, so multidisciplinary scientific approach, that was not enough. Then we got involved experts in energy phenomena, physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, people with the instruments. They've been measuring, and we have proven that pyramids were actually built as energy machines that produce very specific frequencies. Through the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, we got energy beam, 28 kilohertz, which is electrical in nature. It goes like this: 13 feet, expanding to 65 feet, getting back narrow to 13 feet, 65, 13, 65. For physicists, no doubt, they were so-called scalar waves. But there's just one energy phenomena. Then, in the underground tunnels, original energy field of the planet, 7.83 hertz, the Schumann resonance, which brings us back to the balance. And then 28 kilohertz in ultrasound, the levitation frequency. People feel light when they go to the tunnels or on the pyramids. The level of orgone energy. Remember, William Reich, 70 years back, he's been measuring the level of orgone energy, which some people called life energy or prana or chi in Eastern traditions. So, in your office, in my office, level of orgone energy about 30 to 40%. You go to the villages, 60%. You come to Bosnian pyramids and Bosnian pyramid underground tunnels, 100%. So we realized with the help of those experts that energy aspect is extremely important. But then this energy of the pyramids affect our physical, energy, spiritual body. What is spiritual body? What is spirituality? A long time ago, they taught me in school spirituality equals religious or a religion. They have nothing to do with religion. Spirituality is a development of our spiritual senses, so we can sense beyond our physical reality. With our physical senses, we can see, we can hear, we can taste, we can touch, we can experience physical aspect. With the spiritual senses, and we have at least 30 of them, we can sense the world beyond the physical reality. So we've noticed that the energy from Bosnian pyramids do affect our spiritual abilities. So that was aspect number 4. And aspect number 5, healing aspect. In the last few years, especially since the last time you and I talked, we've received hundreds of testimonials of people going to the tunnels. Deeper you go, you breathe better and better. Not very logical, but nothing in Bosnia is logical. So, you go in there, if you have asthma or respiratory problems, you breathe so well. You get outside, you don't need air pumps, inhalators for 3 or 6 months. You got high blood pressure, get out, got normal. You got high glucose, high sugar in the blood, you get out, you lose 5 points. You got very serious diseases. We got people with various forms of tumors, cancers. We got excellent results. So we realized that pyramid energy has something to do with the healing aspect. So those 5 aspects, archaeology, science, energy, spirituality, healing, are helping us to understand the true nature of the Bosnian pyramid complex. The basic stuff like, for example, 3 major pyramids, sun, moon, dragon, when we connect them, they form perfect equilateral triangle. A lot of elements of sacred geometry we covered the last time, so I won't be talking too much about it. On the sun pyramid, we discovered the oldest and the best quality concrete. We discussed that last time. The height of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, more than 2.5 times of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. We changed the history altogether, and the major element, the age. Below the concrete blocks, we have like 4 or 5 layers of concrete. Like between first and second layer, we've been discovering organic materials, fossilized leaves. We've done radiocarbon dating, 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. So we go back for 30,000 years. So I would say this is probably the most exciting project, not only in the world of archaeology, maybe in the science, because we change our ideas that human history is about 5,000-6,000 years old, that everything started with Sumerians, and then Babylon, Akkad, Assyria, Hittite, ancient Egypt, ancient India. That's just the last cycle of humanity. Before that one, there was another one which ended 11,500 years back with the end of the last ice age. And another one, 18,000, another one, 32,000, 55, 75. So instead of, teachers telling us our history is, evolution, it's not. It's cycle after cycle after cycle. So this project is bringing so much on the surface. And with those 5 aspects, we were not happy, we were not satisfied. So what we started doing, actually since the last time you and I talked, we started buying the properties on the pyramids, close to the tunnels, and then we purchased a lot of properties which were actually swamp, neglected, muddy land. We transform it into the beautiful energy park, probably the most beautiful park in Europe, where we have concerts, spiritual music. We built many platforms for the meditation. Just a reminder, in Egypt for the last 3 years, you cannot meditate in the temples and the pyramids. It's forbidden by law. However, we encourage people to meditate, to go deep, because there, no limits, we are free, and stuff like that. So the Bosnian Pyramid Project is becoming huge, open community, and we want to give freedom back to the people.
Why do you think they don't let you meditate in Egypt pyramids?
You see, when you meditate, you go deep. When you go deep, you can visit all the places in the universe. You are free. Well, the governments don't want us to be free. So what they do, they label people who meditate sects. Well, they don't want us to develop our spiritual abilities. Because of the spiritual abilities, now imagine if we develop some of those senses. For example, telepathy. You can communicate, exchange thoughts through telepathy. Telekinesis. We can move objects at our will. Teleportation. You can move through space and time. Even through astral projections, you can move through space and time. And then you can go and see what actually happened in the history. They are telling us, Napoleon was fighting those, fights, stuff like. Why don't we simply go to the past and see what was happening then? So instead of, lying us through the history books, we would be able to see for ourselves. And then with the spiritual abilities, we finally become free. Do we need, elites to rule us anymore? Do we need governments to control and manipulate with us anymore? No, if we are free people.
Wow. Yeah, it's the obvious answer to so many things that are happening right now.
Yes.
And, perfect explanation. So what was this conference about that you just had, and where did that go?
Well, in a science, when you start the project, doesn't matter the field, it can be math or astronomy or archaeology or, you start with the lab analysis, radiocarbon dating, sample testing, stuff like that. You do one analysis, second, third. Well, in the last 14 years, we have had 6 international scientific conferences on Bosnian pyramids. We have had more than 100 scientists, researchers, investigators, even spiritual scientists who would come to Bosnia, who would actually do the analysis of the sites and different aspects. So almost every second year we do our conferences where people exchange their analysis, exchange their ideas, and they are adding up to the vast body of knowledge about the Bosnian pyramids and pyramids in general. So this year we had really nice people like Ken Rolla from Florida, and he's really expert in, for example, scalar waves. Maybe it's a good time to say something about the scalar waves. We are taught in the schools that the biggest speed is the speed of light.
Right.
It's Albert Einstein's hypothesis from 100 years back. It's almost 186,000 miles per second, or almost 300,000 kilometers per second. Well, this is really huge speed. I mean, you and I, we are probably about maybe 6,000 miles apart. 6,000 miles, the speed of light, 186,000 miles. So basically, if I turn the light here in Sarajevo, Bosnia, theoretically you could see it within the same second. But if you send the light to the sun, it takes 7.5 minutes. If we send it to the northern star, 700 years. If we send it to the center of our galaxy, Milky Way, 40,000 years. And finally, if we send it to the center of the universe, where the old guy in the white robe is sitting with the white bird, getting very busy, creating the worlds and universes and the life forms. So if we send the light to the creator, it takes 5 billion years using the speed of light. So the speed of light is actually very slow. So imagine that you are the creator. You have created so many children, planets and galaxies and suns, and you want to get the instant information what's going on with them. You use the scalar waves. According to the Russian theoretical physicists, they've been doing great work on scalar waves in the last 50 years. Most of it is regarding the military, research. But what we know from them is that the speed of the scalar waves is at least 10 billion times bigger than the speed of light. So basically, the movement of the energy, the movement of the information is instant from one end of the galaxy to another one. And guess what? It seems really that the pyramids do generate scalar waves, and Ken Rolla is excellent in explaining why. When you have certain materials, like in our case of the Bosnian pyramids, you have, different materials, like in our case, concrete blocks, then clay, concrete blocks, then clay, then sandstone block, and then clay, conductor, non-conductor, conductor, non-conductor, conductor. They generate scalar waves. And then when you have the shape of the pyramid, and for our planet, the most powerful pyramid is 4-sided pyramid. When you have the shape of the pyramid, it amplifies existing natural sources. Below the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, we have iron plate. Iron generates electromagnetic fields. Below the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, we have underground water stream. Water moves, releases negative ions. Then, below the first water stream, we have another one. Between the two, electrical field is generated. The pyramid amplifies this electricity. And then we have a lot of quartz crystal discovered in the tunnels below the pyramids and on the pyramid itself. How did they discover it? Through the archaeological digging. This is what we do. What is the thing with the crystal? Well, crystal, if it got hit with the electromagnetic field, through the piezo electrical effect, it generates ultrasound, which we can measure, and we do measure, 28 kilohertz of ultrasound. So now we can see many different forms of the energy is generated when it comes to the pyramid complex. And the ancients were so smart. They knew when they applied the elements of sacred geometry, they amplified the energy furthermore. What are the elements of sacred geometry? number pi, 3.14. For example, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the length at the base, 231 meters. Two lengths, 462. Divided by height, 147. The result, 3.14. Then a number phi, or a golden ratio, 1.618. These elements of sacred geometry. Equilateral triangle. In Bosnia, we have that one that's formed by the pyramid of the sun, moon, dragon. Then hexagon, and so on. Elements of sacred geometry amplify this energy. So for the ancient pyramid builders, it has always been about the energy.
What are the Bosnian pyramids made out of?
Now, we have 5 pyramids. 3 of them, the sun, moon, dragon, the major pyramids, they are built from different materials, different designs, and that's amazing. The sun pyramid, the biggest one, is covered in concrete blocks. How do they make concrete? Tens of thousands of years back. We thought that the oldest form of concrete is ancient Roman concrete 2,000 years back. Well, it's not. Professor Davidovitz from Geopolymer Institute from France has proven that Egyptian pyramids, the Giza pyramids, were built from the geopolymer concrete. Now, officially there are 4,500, but we actually know that they are much more than 12,000 years old. So, in Bosnia, concrete, they used pebbles, rock, sand as construction material, and as a binder, they used clay, a lot of clay around. Somehow, they melted clay, mixed with the pebbles and rocks. When it's got, cold, hard, better quality than ours. Why am I saying better quality than ours? Quality of the concrete can be measured by 2 elements. The first one is hardness. Harder the concrete, better the quality. Our concretes, for example, in the 20th century, hardness from 10 megapascals to 60 megapascals. Bosnian pyramid concrete, after we analyzed 50 samples, from 73 megapascals to 134 megapascals, 2 or 3 times better quality. The second element for the quality of concrete, water absorption. If water can get inside the concrete blocks during the winter, it freezes. Now you got ice. Ice has a tendency, to expand. Concrete breaks. So our norms in 21st century for the concrete is up to 3% on water absorption. Bosnian pyramid concrete, 1% superior. So everything we do, we measure, and the measurements are telling us they were superior.
Is that 1% of the weight of the dry concrete that it increases that much weight, or what does 1% mean?
1%, it's, how much water can be absorbed in the concrete during the winter times.
Right,
so
I got that.
Only 1% of the water can get
in. I see.
It's so dense.
Okay, got it. The tunnels that are under the pyramids in Bosnia, are those? I'm assuming those are not natural tunnels. Those were dug. So how do you have any idea how they were excavated?
Well, below the Bosnian Pyramid Valley, we discovered the entrance to the first level tunnels. 2 civilizations there. The first one who built tunnels 30,000 years back. The second one who 5,000 years ago completely filled the tunnels with the filler material. They shut them down. They fill them up with the material. So what we actually do, we remove the filler material from 5,000 years back, only using the manual labor and the wheelbarrows. And we remove the filler material, and now in those newly opened tunnels, we put the wooden support and the lights, and from the entrance, which is 1.4 miles from the Sun Pyramid, we keep moving towards the pyramid. So right now, we are still not below the pyramid, but we are on our way. When I say below the pyramid, I mean the biggest Bosnian pyramid of the sun. So far, we have discovered 5 chambers. Now, those chambers, they are amazing. You go there, you breathe so well. The negative ion concentration is very high. And why I mention that? What are the negative ions? The medical science knows that they are very good for our health. So in our offices, very small concentration, 100-200. You go to, for example, downtowns or big cities, 300. You go again to the villages, 600. But you go to the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, 20,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter. 100 more than in your or my apartment. It's a big difference. It's like underground healing facility. So somebody built those tunnels for the energy to flow, for the negative ions, for the best electromagnetic field, for the best ultrasound frequency, 28 kilohertz, for the best extremely low frequency of 7.83 hertz, original Schumann resonance. So I would say the ancients were smart. Everything they did, it had multi-purpose. When we do something, you have one purpose. You build TV, you watch TV, or you make the bicycle, then you drive the bicycle. But they made energy machines that can be used for the communication, for the self-healing, to improve the molecular structure of the water, to improve the food, to improve our auric field, our bioenergy field, to bring our chakras back to the balance, to open them up, to raise our level of immunity, even to affect the social organization of the society. Our friend from Russia, his name is Dr. Alexander Golod. He built 16 pyramids. The biggest one was near Moscow. And he did experiments. He placed the kitchen salt, 5 tons of kitchen salt, and then he took it. He got a contract with a nearby prison, 6,000 prisoners. He brought them salt. He said, use them during the breakfast and lunch and dinner. 3 months later, he came to see what was happening. The chiefs of the departments, they said, it's like we are having brand new prisoners. I mean, the violence level was reduced to 0%. I mean, imagine 6,000 prisoners. In those prisons, everybody likes to play with the knives or guns. They kill each other. Violence level 0%. So after 2 years, when his contract expired, he went to the Russian government to renew the contract. What they told him? They don't want to renew it. What does it tell us? The governments want us to be violent so they can get in, control, manipulate. And then I mentioned the food. Last year, we did experiment in the Bosnian Pyramid Valley with the seeds of beans. And we took 1 bag of beans in the tunnels, 1 bag on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the sun, and we had a control bag with the bean, from the store. After 2 weeks, we were checking the germinization. The control group from the store, 60% of the seeds started growing. Only 60%. And we know that, when you have seeds from the store, not every seed, will start, growing.
Right.
But from the pyramids and the tunnels, 100%. It's the effect of the pyramid energy. So I think we've been doing pioneering works together with our Russian colleagues, explaining the pyramid energy and the true purpose of pyramids. It's a shame that our Egyptian colleagues do not want to open their projects for physicists, medical doctors, engineers, for people who can measure, experiment, and prove why the Egyptian, Mexican, Peruvian, Chinese pyramids were built for.
Right, exactly. Now, tell me again, where did this salt come from that was helping the prisoners?
Well, he purchased salt, from the factory, 5 tons.
Right.
He placed it in the bags of 25 kilos.
Okay.
Inside his pyramid. I visited that pyramid 4 or 5 years back. And then after a month, he transported to the prison. So it's just a regular kitchen salt that you and I can,
It just
purchase.
sat in the pyramid for a month, and that was it, right? That was all he did.
Exactly.
And the kind of pyramid that he
what
had...
happened, the pyramid energy changes the molecular structure of the salt.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And the other thing is, that's not a stone pyramid that you're talking about. That's not a concrete pyramid.
No, it's not.
That's
Exactly. How do you know that?
That's just a frame, right?
Well, it's not just a frame. He had a frame, and he had like a PVC. Basically, he made the walls from the plastic. So it was empty inside. It was empty inside. But the main thing, he had the shape of the pyramid.
Right.
It was four-sided. It was perfectly oriented. And it had elements of sacred geometry.
Okay, so the question comes up. This is why the discussion is going to go by in 5 minutes. Based on what you just said, how much of the benefit is from the shape and how much is from the material?
I think it's about 10 or 15 different elements. Number one is the shape. The moment you make a pyramid, you got the energy movement. Usually there are three different energy movements. One is it goes like a spiral and then through the top of the pyramid forming an energy beam. We know about it because we measure it. We are using drones. We are flying above the pyramids for several hundred feet. It's present. The Russians, they know that also because their military, using radar equipment, they located those energy beams. That's the first flow of the energy. The second one is within the pyramid. It's like a circle. The energy flows, it hits 1/3 of the height, going up to 2/3 of the height, coming back to 1/3, and then at the base, completing the circle. So looking at two-dimensionally, you have a triangle and a circle inside. Looking three-dimensionally, you got the energy movement like this through the pyramids. Interestingly enough, both King's and Queen's Chamber in the Great Pyramid of Egypt are on the way of this energy flow. And the third energy movement is the energy that goes off the pyramid on the surface in concentric circles, affecting the agriculture or social organization of the community. So you get those energy movements the moment you make four-sided pyramid. Now, why I keep mentioning four-sided and the orientations to the cardinal points? If you ask Egyptologists or archaeologists, they don't know. If you ask independent researchers like Hancock or Robert Schock or David Hatcher, they have no idea. Well, we know that in Bosnia, what's happened? Our planet is a huge energy ball. Everything is energy. And the strongest energy flows are north-south, the second strongest, east-west. You make a pyramid, four-sided, you plan it with the cardinal points, it automatically initiates the movement of the energy. That's why it's important to have perfect orientation.
With the corners or with the sides?
With the sides. But
so
that's a good question.
The flat side faces
the flat side has to be
magnetic north, not true north. Magnetic north, right?
Yes. Sorry, cosmic north. Cosmic, not magnetic. The thing with the magnetic north is it changes. The cosmic north is almost fixed. It does change every 12,000 years. But the magnetic north, it moves every year between Canada and Siberia and back. For example, last year it moved about 30 miles, which is another problem because like 600-700 years back, it would move only for about 4 or 5 miles. But since everything is in chaos at this moment on our planet, the magnetic north oscillates much more. But the cosmic north is important.
Well, so what is that, North Star or something to figure out?
Yes, Northern Star, exactly. So now we are aligned with the Northern Star, which also changes, but Northern Star.
Right.
You asked about the material. Material is also very important. But as long as you have a pyramid, it can be a wooden pyramid, some materials are better. Copper is better, gold is better, granite is better. The older the material, when it comes to the stones, the better, because they are more energy potent material. Granite is one of the hardest material in the nature. It is on a Mach scale from 1 to 10, it is 6.5. Iron is only 5. copper is only 3, and so on. So the choice of the material is important, but then like I mentioned in the case of Bosnian pyramids, the way you got those layers, you have to have conductor that conducts the energy and non-conductor, so you can, generate those scalar waves. Then, very important, the water. When it comes to the energies, you have to have something that will initiate the movement of the energy, and that is the water. Why do we always have the major rivers and the major underground water streams when it comes to the pyramids? Because the water is the one that initiates the movement of the energy. From static, you are getting dynamic, kinetic energy.
So you're saying they select sites for building that are over water?
Over water, in the case of underground water stream, close to the water, so they can use it. 1979, Gold Pyramid near Chicago was built by a very wealthy construction businessman. He was making a replica of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, just 9 times smaller, ratio 1:9. 4-sided, perfect orientation, 52 degrees, stuff. Now, as he was completing the pyramid, he could notice that the water was coming on the surface on his property, and his property was clay, which is waterproof.
All right.
But the pyramid power was so strong. By the time he completed the pyramid with the roof, which, by the way, he built using the golden leaves. At that time they were $1 million worth. He completed the pyramid. He got a huge artificial lake on his property, a pyramid power. 2002, they were doing the reconstruction of the place, so they had to remove the roof. The water level was reduced for 50%. So, now we can see that the pyramid has those powers. It works at a, amplifier on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, some type of the, machine that, that like a water pump. It can pump the water, it can, get it on the surface. So I believe that in the pyramids, there's a process that the pyramid power would take water all the way to the top, move them through those canals or passageways and so on. A pyramid machine.
It really reminds me of what happens in a tree. Right? Because water moves against gravity in a tree.
Exactly.
In some way, it's got to be related. The other.
So to answer your question fully, the more elements you have, the stronger the pyramids are. So we mentioned, the shape, we mentioned the orientation, we mentioned the material, we mentioned the water, we mentioned elements of sacred geometry. What we did not mention is the volcanic lines. Now, we are the first one who are really pioneering the presence of volcanic lines in the case of the pyramid and megalithic sites. We have analyzed 75 pyramid and megalithic sites on all continents. And we realized that all of them were built on intersection of many volcanic lines. What is volcanic line? There is a great number of volcanoes on the planet. When you connect 2 volcanoes with a line, it is volcanic line, very simple. But if you extend the line and at the end you have pyramid, it means that the pyramid is sitting on the volcanic line. And guess what? For example, Cholula, which is the largest pyramid in Mexico, larger than the Sun Pyramid or even the Egyptian pyramid. The Cholula pyramid is sitting on 16 volcanic lines. So it's an intersection of volcanic lines. Why is that important? Volcano means lava,
right,
iron, minerals, energy. Again, Machu Picchu, the famous Machu Picchu. Everybody's talking about Machu Picchu, how it's an energetical, major point on the planet. We have 15 volcanic lines. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, 26 volcanic lines. Great Zimbabwe, 9 volcanic lines, and so on and so forth. And then another one also important, so-called ley lines.
Right.
Now, in Britain, especially in southern England, people's been researching those ley lines for decades, and they realized that the churches are always located on those straight ley lines, as they call them, energy lines. Well, the churches today, yesterday, there were temples. Before that, there were pagan, objects. So the ancients knew when they locate their structure on the ley lines, and especially if they use very powerful shapes, and the three most powerful shapes, the shape of the pyramid, conical, and spherical. Spherical, why do we have domes when it comes to churches? Imagine this scenario. You have a huge cathedral with a huge dome. You have 5,000 or 500 believers. You are the priest and you are giving them the message. Your church is sitting on the ley lines, very strong energy lines. Now, we have the dome shaped. This energy is concentrated there. His message is very powerful. He's giving his message to his sheep, telling them, hey, from now on, I want 10% of your income so we can build bigger church. I can be richer and whatever. The message is very powerful. So they were smart. They were placing them on those ley lines. In Balkan area, we have checked the ley lines. Majority of them are intersecting exactly in the town of Visoko, where the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids is located.
Okay, a couple of questions. First of all, you define volcanic lines as going through volcanoes and maybe extending further, and then you can find points out where they extend.
Yes.
Many mountains that don't appear to be volcanoes are dormant volcanoes. Do they count or not?
Well, for this analysis, we were using only the active volcanoes.
Okay.
That's a good question, though.
That was because there are other volcanoes, you just can't see them because they didn't erupt yet.
Yes.
They must have similar energy, though.
Or some of them have been dead for the longest time.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything. And the other question is on ley lines. Since you gave a good description of what a volcanic line is, can you tell people what determines a ley line?
The ley lines have the cosmic origin. So we get radiation coming from the cosmos, and they generate energy lines just below the ground. And they are usually straight lines. They are running straight. So when the people in England, the investigators and the researchers, when they were connecting the churches, and they realized they were always on the straight line, and then dowsers and some other people who are very experienced in the energy lines, they figure out that those lines are exactly below those sacred objects.
Okay, I was going to ask you if dowsing is the way that they located them.
Dowsing is one of the ways, yes.
Okay, all right. The other question is, back to the Russia and the salt thing. I don't mean to tie us up on that, but I think that's incredibly significant for a few different reasons. And that was showing only one or two major elements were there, the shape and the sacred geometry ratios. And the material, obviously, a piece of plastic, was not a major element, probably. Yes. So they found out that salt, they just started getting a hint of the fact that it could transmit, probably because salt is crystals, and it picked up the energy that it was transmitting from the pyramid, and it was taking it to the human body, which is full of crystalline material as well. And that was just the beginning of a hint of what it could do in the healing area. And the fact that the Russian government, some part of it, stopped that is interesting, because there's a lot of things that the Soviet Union had primarily evil, in what it was doing, but some things became good when the transition to Russia happened, and they're doing some things like trying to get the Wi-Fi out of the schools, trying to become the world's primary exporter of organic food, supporting families, doing a lot of things that the U.S. is completely messing up. The Russians are doing in a good way. You would almost think that they had some good intent because of those things. And yet when they said no more with the salt, that's the opposite. So what's going on with their rulers? Is there a fight between the factions, or What do you think is happening?
Well, this decision is from 2001. That was 18 years ago. So things change. But then still, even though it's not Soviet Union anymore, Russia is still in some aspects highly centralized. So some decisions, they make it this way, some others the other way. So hard to say what caused this decision. But I'll tell you one more thing. When I spoke to Dr. Golod, he told me when he built pyramids back in 1999, he noticed that this energy beam improves really the surrounding areas and the atmosphere and so on. And back in that time, if you and I probably remember, 1999, there was a lot of stories about the hole in the ozone layer above New Zealand and Australia. Nowadays you don't hear those stories, but at that time that was, a kind of shocking, and we were so worried about this. And then Dr. Golod, offered to both governments, Australia and New Zealand, to build a complex of pyramids which is going to affect and repair the hole in ozone layer.
Right.
He was rejected.
Right.
But now I'm going to give you the freshest example. In the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, below the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, in 5 sections of the tunnels so far, we have discovered water. And we've done conventional analysis of the water, physical, chemical properties, microbiological. We concluded no viruses, no bacteria. It is drinkable. And then pH is beautiful, 7.5 or 7.6. When it comes to pH, we know from 0 to 14, 7 is neutral, so people recommend 7. So when you buy bottles in the stores or at your homes, it's about 7, sometimes 6.5 or 7. Well, our blood is not 7. Our blood is 7.25 to 7.45. And pH of the Bosnian pyramid water, 745, 750. I mean, it is so good you can inject it straight in your blood.
Wow.
And the third analysis that we did, there is an institute in Slovenia, in Ljubljana. It is called the Bion Institute, and they do some very advanced, bioenergy experiments. They are using so-called GDV technology, gas discharge visualization technology from Russia. So they did experiments with our water. They had a group of 5 people drinking pyramid water for 1 week, and a group of 5 people drinking regular water, city water, for 1 week. They did not tell them which water they were using, and they were scanning them. The water that we drink, it doesn't have viruses, bacteria. Why? Because of the chlorine. Chlorine kills viruses, bacteria, but the chlorine is a poison.
Right, it kills them in your body as well.
Yes. And then we have fluorides in our water. We have traces of heavy metals in our water. The water that we drink is energetically dead. It vibrates very low.
Actually, that's being kind, but yeah.
Yeah. So people drink this water. We drink this water. In most cases, it doesn't do anything to our bodies. It simply goes to our body. It goes out. The Bosnian pyramid water, actually, through the instruments they were, using to scan the body, this water was feeding the cells.
Yeah.
It vibrates high. And finally, we sent our samples to the late Dr. Masaru Emoto from Japan. He became very popular from 1999 until he died 4 years back. He was freezing different samples of water, minus 20 degrees Celsius. Then he was taking, the picture of the molecular structure. He noticed that different samples have different molecular structures. You take our regular water, low level of energy, looks bad. You take the water from contaminated lakes, it looks ugly. But then, even with our, city water, if you give it, for example, to the Buddhist priest, and he has mantra of love. For 1 hour, the priest is telling the water, I love you, I love you.
Right.
And then he means that sincerely. Yeah. The water starts changing the molecular structure, becoming beautiful, hexagonal with the crystal structures. Right. If you play Beethoven music, beautiful. If you play hard rock or punk music, it's all scary. The Bosnian pyramid water, beautiful hexagonal structure, crystal-like structure, like a Christmas trees. It's energetically alive water. It's a happy water. Why? Because it's been exposed to the Bosnian pyramid energies for the longest time. Water has a memory. It remembers.
Yeah. As do all crystals, right?
Exactly. And so now we are learning so much. Everything in our life is actually about the vibration, as you know that. Right. When we are violent, when we hate, when we are jealous, we vibrate low.
Right.
But when we have love for the whole world, we vibrate high. What is the purpose of our lives? Is it to grab and have material stuff, more and more and more money on our savings account, and bigger house and bigger car? And of course it's not. If we are not happy, if we don't live fulfilled lives, if we don't have joy in our lives, we will not vibrate high. The purpose is to vibrate high.
Right. You know, there's a lot to talk about here, obviously. It's hard to put it into, succinct words, but obviously there's a contest between light and dark going on right now. That's one way of looking at it. And in a lot of the movies that are meant through the Hollywood and other entertainment to program people in a negative way, some of that is also used to fulfill what they consider conditions where they have to tell you what they're going to do to you as far as the victims in the world. And some of the things about the horror movies and things like that, they show that the bad guys are trying to... There was a movie called The Golden Child. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It was very interesting. And this pure... You were talking about Buddhist people. This is a successor to some high position in Buddhism, and he's like 10 years old. And the bad guys are saying that if they could get him to drink, or they give him some contaminated oatmeal, and it's got blood in it, and if he would eat it, then it would ruin his spiritual power, right? It's kind of the converse of what you were saying. And he doesn't eat it because he can tell just by looking what's in it. So there are two sides to all these things. What if something like that salt that you were talking about was gotten into the supply that was being eaten by these people that want to destroy the world? I wonder what would happen to them, because negativity is not the only potential. So what you're saying is this subtle energy can actually be absorbed in a physical object. And then if that physical object is edible, or if you could bathe in it or drink it or something like that, this could have, if a way was found to do that on a scale, that could have an impact on the way people are thinking within the power structure, not just seekers of health. I just think...
Why they don't want us to go with the truth about the pyramids? If we could have series of pyramids around the planet, it would affect us in such a positive way. Right. Instead of society which is based on fear, right. And after the fear we have violence, we have jealousy, we have the competition in the worst way. We could have society based on the friendship and love and peace, and obviously the elites, the powers that control military and political and religious power and so on. They don't want that. I mean, right. They won't be around no more.
Well, they're addicted to the drug of evil. Yes. I mean, everybody wants to feel really good, and they got sidetracked and thought, wow, the best way we could feel good is to destroy everybody else, and actually ultimately destroy ourselves too. And that way we'll please the power that we're worshiping, and it's going to be great. And unfortunately, we're the sacrificial animal in the middle of that.
Exactly.
But there are other options.
But you see, when I was younger, decades ago, of course, we always think we are the smartest people in the world, and we think that, we thought that we should change the world. We were telling people what to do, nobody listened to us. But as we are getting older and wiser, we realize that we need to do only one thing. We need to change ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Once we change ourselves, then we start changing people around us.
Well, I mean, then you become the pyramid.
Yes. And people recognize that. And, you know, looking at the history, we can see that who was the factor of change? It has never been a majority of the people,
Right.
but leaders in different fields. It can be in politics or military or culture or music or sports or archaeology. Leaders, they need to show that they are persistent. They believe in their goals. They believe in their noble goals. And then once people realize that, then they follow. And then this is the way to change the society.
Even without discussing any of it, what if scalar energy is coming not only from the pyramids, but from people that become conscious? So that you can, by resonance, share that with others, even if they don't know about it, even if you never talk to them.
And you influence them. I like that. And practical example, the Bosnian Pyramid Project. It's the most open project in the world. We invite professionals and non-professionals, which we call volunteers. They come, they join us, they work with us, June, July, August, September, October. They help us removing the soil from the sun pyramids, to clean the tunnels, find artifacts, find organic materials, and so on. Well, we have people from all countries in the world. We got people from Peru, Bolivia, from Jordan, from Korea, from China, all European countries, America, Canada, different ages, different educational background. And, when they get here, I ask them the same question. Why did you come here? This is what they tell me. When we first heard about the Bosnian pyramids, we felt an inner call to come to Bosnia. It is like the Bosnian pyramids have been sending telepathic messages through the vibrations, of course.
Right.
And people who feel this vibration, who vibrate at the same frequency, they recognize the call. They come. So now you have a network of people. Even though they've been attacking us in the beginning, archaeological community, cultural establishment, labeling us, doesn't matter. With the thousands and thousands of people who come here, who share this vibration, who share this enthusiasm and love, most of them are telling us we are changed people now. It's very possible that pyramid energy can influence or even change our DNA. They are changed people. They go back to their respective countries. They start influencing their surroundings. So I think this is the way to do it. And then you are right. They become the generator of this new energy, scalar energy.
So if they come to Bosnia briefly, or if they don't get to come to Bosnia, but they want to maximize the absorption of that energy wherever they live in the world, inside their house or backyard or whatever, what do? Can they build a pyramid, a small pyramid like in Moscow, but smaller, and use it to...
That is a good first step. Or, they watch the YouTube. They see the pyramid on the video, they see the tunnels, they see the people. Actually, they become one with the energy. You close your eyes, you can be there immediately. You can feel the energy. Or we had the cases, some people were taking our water from Bosnia to Holland, to Belgium, to different countries. They had different, health challenges. There was a guy, his eyesight was 30% in his right eye, 30% in his left eye. He was using the pyramid water for 3 months. After 3 months, 90%, 80%. It's all about the vibrations, about the frequencies, about the energy, as Nikola Tesla said.
So it may be that the water did not heal his eyes. The water gave him a model of frequency that his consciousness took on. And then that allowed the body to heal itself.
Yes. What else you notice with the pyramid water? You cut yourself.
Yeah.
Put a few drops. The vibrations make the cells work harder, and it heals quicker.
Right. So what it's doing is it's giving hints of what our innate potential actually is, right?
Yes.
I also skipped the question. These pyramids in Bosnia represent a large amount of physical material that they were made out of.
Yes.
So how do you think that was physically done?
The Great Pyramid of Egypt was built using 6 million tons of blocks. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, much more than 20 million tons of blocks and concretes and other materials, clay and so on.
Right.
Somebody had capability to manipulate with huge quantities of material.
Yeah.
How did they do that? Today we use cranes, we use trucks, we use forklifts.
Yeah.
How did they move? How do they transport? There are different ways. Our problem is that we think that our ways are only ways. And usually we use the most primitive ways. For example, you need to move 50 tons. What you do, you have to fight the gravitational force, and you build crane, which is 100 tons capacity. And then, you lift 50 tons. The ancients were probably much smarter. They found a way to neutralize gravitational force,
right,
either with the sound or frequency, or they simply nicely asked to move.
Right. Yeah.
But there are other ways to do that. That's the point. You just have to be open.
You mentioned that you were familiar with the Emerald Tablets, right?
Yes.
And in there, Thoth explains the building of the Great Pyramid, pretty much exactly like you just said. And he's saying that it using the force that neutralized gravity, and it was built from the top down, which made it much more efficient.
Besides the Emerald Tablets, we have some recorded cases, at least 2 of them in Tibet. We had teams from the filming crews from Austria and from Sweden, and both of them were financed through the National Geographic magazine. At that time, 60 years ago, it was magazine, no TV. So the guys went there and they witnessed building of the temple high in the cliffs, no access roads. So he woke up early in the morning, and there was a crew of the Buddhist priests. They formed half circle, and they had a block, 2-ton block in front of them, and they had those, they had traditional instruments. They started playing those instruments. The rest of them, they started, humming and singing louder and louder. And one moment you could see that the block kind of moved, and it started going up. So probably that was the moment that with the right frequency you were able to neutralize gravitational force. And this block was going up, 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 up. It came to those about 200 feet above them. It came to 2 priests who were standing there, and just with their fingers they were moving this block, and then they lay it out exactly on the side of the wall. So they built a temple high in the cliff with no access roads. And the story, of course, goes that when those people came back, they wanted to publish their movies. National Geographic did not allow them. They put them in the bunker for 50 years. Those 50 years passed 5 years ago, and then they extended for another 20 years. Right. So much about the National Geographic.
Yeah, exactly. People don't generally imagine the extent of the collusion of the forces that have been organized to make sure that stuff doesn't get out. I know in the American military, probably decades back, maybe 1950, part of what was not supposed to be known is they mastered what they called gravity control. And it was neutralization of gravity, and they did it with high voltage inside labs that were secret. And of course, their ultimate goal, not benefiting humanity, but they wanted to create an alien invasion false flag using government-constructed alien vehicles to terrify everybody enough to finally give up sovereign countries and go under world tyranny. And that's still in the works right now. Werner von Braun talked about it when he was dying because he felt kind of bad that he was part of it. But it just is a hint that there's a natural ability that the pyramids are a reminder of. And then there's the corrupted version that's used to try to cause harm. But resonance, I think, is a real potential way through it, because the positive resonance in harmony with the source is a lot stronger than the corrupted version. And the only way they can keep us from discovering it and using it is if we stay unconscious, which seems to be the main focus.
It's interesting that you mentioned that example. There was a strategic document from 1940s in which they said, in order to keep the order, they said, they have to have a global confrontation. So they said, the phase one, we're going to have Eastern and Western Bloc. And sure enough, we had NATO on one hand and Soviet Union with their satellites for 40 years. And we thought that system will last forever. All of a sudden, Soviet Union collapsed. And then the phase two was the Western world and Islamic world. Back in 1980s, it looked almost impossible, because out of 50, Muslim countries, they were all, separated with different interests and so on, politics. But then, see what's happening in the last 20 years. All of a sudden, biggest enemy, Islamic world. And the phase three, the global danger from UFOs, from extraterrestrials, which will form, it's like one government, trying to protect the planet. Exactly. And you're probably right. It seems that behind our backs, behind the scene, they've been building technological, devices in order to scare us so they can get even more power above us.
They've got holographic technology now that can make God talk out of the clouds, or Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or anybody they want, and convince people that it's absolutely the only way to go is give up all your remaining rights and do whatever the rulers tell you for your own protection.
Yes. So when you put in that context the laws in Egypt or even in Peru, Machu Picchu, they forbid us to meditate.
Yeah.
They don't want us to be free. They don't want us to be spiritual. They want to remove spirituality completely out of our life. Right. If you have people with the gifts, if they can see in the future, if they can heal, if they can, people laugh at them. In educational system, the parents laugh at them, the TVs laugh at them. So they don't, show those gifts no more. But right. Imagine the society when we can, develop our abilities to full potentials. If we can live in the balance between physical and spiritual, we could become truly free. Yeah. And when you have free persons, do we need elites anymore? The politicians become our service instead of our rulers. So yeah, I know that nobody can rule me. They don't want free people.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest taboo, is finding out who you actually are. Because the freedom is intrinsic. It's not something that's given to you from outside.
Exactly.
And it's right under the surface. I mean, the world is simultaneously close to becoming extinct and simultaneously about to wake up in incredible consciousness. And it's just kind of right on the edge, seeing which way it will go. And when you look at all these aspects of the what's happening in Bosnia and the complex there, you said it's the most open. Well, I actually have two questions I didn't get to ask you. One is, that's a big project. That's a lot of soil to dig up, right? To uncover all those pyramids. Yes. So did you have to search around to find some way to be able to fund it, or how did you put that together when you got the idea?
Right. Well, first what I did, I went to the National Museum to, Paleolithic department. They were not interested in the project. I went to university, departments of archaeology. They were not interested. They were saying, we never had pharaohs, therefore we cannot have pyramids. Right. So what I did, I established non-profit foundation for the archaeological research, scientific research, and the cultural heritage. And then with a lot of enthusiasm, from the volunteers from all over the world. We started with the project, started digging, and then eventually we realized that through the tourism, we can self-finance our activities. So we charge a little bit, a few dollars, $5 or $10, for people to come. We show them the location, we have our guides, we sell a few books, we sell a few souvenirs. So, we've been self-financing our activities. And now we've been growing and growing. Of course, whenever there was a lack of money, then I would, through my business in Houston, Texas, then I would finance that. And then I do the tours around the world, Egypt in December, South Africa, February, Turkey in May, getting some additional money so we can cover the payroll, we can buy the tools, equipment, material, and so on. So they've been, constantly growing. And in the last couple of years, we started buying the properties. On the Sun Pyramid, we purchased 6 private properties, and they became the field where we do our archaeological excavation. We don't need to ask anyone, we don't need to beg anyone. We actually work on our property. We do have, of course, permissions from the Ministry of Culture of the government. You need to have one. We got it, and we do everything, per book. The same thing with the tunnels. Now we have 4 entrances to the tunnels. 3 of them are on our properties. Wow. I think this was strategically very important for us. But then, since we are doing good stuff for the tourism, we attract people. Like in this little town of Visoko, 15 years back, there was 0 tourists. Today, tens of thousands every season. And today we have more than 200 people on Booking.com. They are renting their hotels, motels, apartments, weekend houses, camps. So it's good for the community, taxi drivers, restaurants, stores, and so on. So municipality is supporting us, regional government supporting us, federal government, they don't, give us any problems. So the things have changed. When they saw how much good stuff we are bringing to the community, they don't object anymore.
Do they make you give them anything you discover, or is that not part of the deal?
Well, of course, when you are getting permission, they tell you need to cooperate with one of the museum institutions. There is a local museum in Visoko, so we need to give them the artifacts that we discover, ceramics, organic material, or some tools and stuff like that. But then we can get back, we can lease back those stuff that we discovered. We organized museum exhibitions and stuff like that.
Okay, all right.
So it's a good cooperation.
Yeah, it really works out well for both sides.
Now we are in calm waters.
Yeah. Now that's kind of unique in the world compared to all the other complexes that you know of, right?
It's for the first time that non-profit, non-government foundation is running such a large-scale project. And the best thing of all, the more important project, more secrets, confidential information. But in our case, the biggest discovery, totally open. No secrets, no place for the elite science. And by inviting all these volunteers, even though, Wikipedia against us, National Geographic against us, volunteers, they have their blogs, they have their Twitters, they have their Facebook, they have their YouTubes, channels. Right. So the truth is going out.
Yeah, wow, it's exciting. So because of that difference in the attitude of the whole project, even though you know about all these other pyramids all over the world, I would imagine it draws your attention more into the Bosnian complex compared to anywhere else, right?
Every one of us has the mission in the life. When I turn back, I can see that for 3 decades, it was like an invisible hand taking me to different pyramid sites. Right. My Ph.D., my doctorate thesis is about the Mayan pyramids, Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, where I realized that most of the pyramids are covered or they are in the forests. The Chinese pyramids, all of them covered by forests. And then you realize that, the pyramids have, the older they get, the more advanced they are, the more superior they are. So then I, concluded that this knowledge, we don't have evolution, but this knowledge has been brought to us because the biggest pyramids are at the same time the oldest,
right,
and the most superior in China, in Egypt, in Bosnia, in Mexico, in Peru, and so on. So then of course you question all the history books. Everything was wrong there. So, so I was learning through my travels and through my readings and through thinking, through book writings. I got 17 books written on ancient history and specifically on pyramids. So once I was ready, it seems to me that I was brought to the central Bosnia. The reason I came there, the director of local museum invited me to see the museum. It's a small museum, medieval history. And my focus is something much, much older. But then I saw this, everybody called hill. I saw the four sides, I saw the perfect geometry, I saw the perfect orientation, and I knew this was it, the biggest, the oldest pyramid. Everything I did later on was confirmation of it. So I was talking about the mission in the life. It seemed this was my mission. First, I had to be fully prepared from the scientific point of view, and I was able to compare all the pyramids around the planet and to pick up the knowledge about them. And secondly, running such a foundation. Right now I have 65 people on the payroll, 65 guides, diggers, archaeologists, geologists, office, webmasters, healing and stuff like that. It is like running the business. And I've been having businesses all my life. Right now in Houston, I got a business. It's a metal fab business, but the business teaches you marketing, production, administration, sales, how to get the money to cover all this. So with those two aspects, scientific and business, I've been able to run this project and to defend our projects from all those who were attacking us, to survive and to come to the point where we are right now, rather strong. And it's never easy. I mean, when the first of the month comes, you need to deliver payroll to 65 people. It's not easy. We are receiving no pennies, nothing from the government. It's not easy. But we've been able to manage that. And plus, we grow every year more and more. And people recognize this sincerity. They recognize when you are honest, when you do something good, which is, good for the global community, which is good to raise the global consciousness, which is good for the science, for the history books, for the future. People recognize that. They come, they support.
So your school was everything that happened up until you went to Bosnia, right? That was your personal preparation.
Exactly.
And now you've got all these people. I would think that, the sincerity and the purity of the intent that you're describing here is like the first prerequisite to make sure that it goes in the right direction, ongoing. So the quality of people that work in the project is really important, right? Not just their physical skill.
Extremely. They got to be attracted by the project.
Right.
And, one thing I learned, when I started buying properties, I spent all my savings and sometimes my wife was a little bit nervous. We should get some money at home, some savings in case something happened. I said, don't worry, we're going to buy this and everything will be fine. And, I was buying this land, the swamp, the muddy land. I brought it one occasion 3 years back, my parents. I showed them, and I was telling them, here we're going to have this installation, here concert stage, here will be meditation platform, here. I had the vision. All they saw was mud.
Right, exactly.
Said, where did you waste your savings? But a couple of years later, when they realized how much work we did, how beautiful park we made, how we transformed this ugly to something so beautiful, we attracted more people. So now people, instead of staying one day, they stay for a week because they enjoy the nature, they enjoy meditation, they enjoy meeting other people, exchanging the thoughts and volunteers. Then you realize when you give to the community, you're going to get back.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much risk you take. you're going to get back. You don't have to worry. But when you grab, you will never have enough.
Well, and it was, as far as grabbing versus giving is concerned, it was really fortunate, and of course not by chance, but good fortune, that the complex was on land that was not hard to acquire, right? And if it was really intense business going on, or industry, or even high-scale agriculture, it would have been much harder to buy those properties, right?
That's true.
So it was enough out in the wilderness a little bit that made it easier.
Yes.
Now, do the 65 people live on your property there?
No. They live mostly in this town of Visoko, some of them in the capital city of Sarajevo, which is just half an hour drive. Okay. And but I think, when we decide who to hire, we don't hire people because they need a job. We hire people because they feel themselves as a part of the project and the discovery, and their heart belongs there. And many people, who got guided by our official guides, this is the first thing they tell us. Hey, you need to keep this guy. His heart is in this project. He speaks. So right people come.
How big is the area that you've acquired now? How many acres of land is it on?
Now, it is, right now the total is about, we said 80,000 square meters, which is almost 1 million square feet.
Okay, so 43,500 and something square feet per acre. So that would be about 200 acres, something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. It must be incredibly beautiful at this point.
Yes, it's beautiful nature. We've been planting the trees, and we got the water fountains, we got the beautiful roads, so making it more and more beautiful. We have 4 labyrinths. In ancient times, people were building labyrinths of energy, labyrinths of love, labyrinths of transformation, labyrinths of power, labyrinths of health. You go through a labyrinth, it is like your life path, you come back refreshed spiritually, energetically. So we are adding more stuff, and this park is becoming an energy park.
So you said you built some labyrinths there.
We built labyrinths just using the stones, having the paths, using the labyrinths, or sometimes we make a concrete base and then we paint the labyrinths, and they are becoming very powerful.
So for somebody that doesn't know what a labyrinth is, can you describe it?
Well, the labyrinth, the ancients had at least 9 different forms of labyrinth. I just mentioned some of them, different designs, but all of them, unlike the maze, they always had one way going exactly to the center. You stay on your path, you will never miss. You come to the center. For example, labyrinth of health. The first part, while you are walking through center, what you need to do, you focus on removing the bad stuff, the negative thoughts, the bad energy from yourself. Coming to the center, do a little meditation, and you are coming back the same road, but refreshed. You are getting just the positive energy. We realized the power of intention, and that's exactly what you apply in those labyrinths.
Okay, so you mentioned the difference between a labyrinth and a maze, and a maze is kind of designed so that you cannot easily find your way through it, right?
Exactly. The labyrinths, there is always one road that will take you there. It's not like a maze, you go to the dead ends. No, not like that. But you have to stay focused and true to your life's path. And then you have, turns to the left, turns to the right. It's like in our life. Like in your life, you have walls built, then you need to find another way, and then you turn left, you turn right. Eventually, you come to the center. So on symbolical level, it is like our life. And the pace that we walk, it's our life's path, life's pace. Some people, they walk quicker, they live quicker. Some people, they live slower. So you pace yourself. So these are additional stuff that we've been building and trying, those labyrinths. The idea I got for them is from Sweden. In Sweden, there are hundreds and hundreds of ancient labyrinths. Every little village would have a labyrinth. When people are facing the problem, you go to the labyrinth, it helps you to get clarity of your minds. So a lot of knowledge like that that's been forgotten, we try to get back on the surface in our park, in our facilities.
So if it's like your life, it's like in the beginning when you don't realize you're being given gifts and hints about everything and you think it's working against you, you maybe start out thinking that your life is a maze and then later you find out it was a labyrinth. And
exactly. Nice.
It had a system to it. So even though the labyrinth is, giving you a direct path to your goal, there are sidetracks on a labyrinth. So what's the difference between the sidetrack on a labyrinth compared to what's in a maze?
It's not a sidetrack. You come, and then you have like a little line which obstruct moving the same path anymore. So you just turn to the right. Or on the other side, you turn to the left, and eventually you arrive to the center.
So does that represent going to the side to learn something that you needed to learn before you continue to the center?
It represents that in our life, that's exactly what's been happening to us. Sometimes we think everything is easy, it will be the same path forever, and then, boom, the wall in front of you.
Right.
You need to turn to the left or to the right. You move, then again. And then you become experienced, you get self-confidence, you learn.
So you stop thinking of it as an absolute barrier and think of it as guidance instead.
It tells us really that we have to behave like the water. In our lives, for example, you got a job in the company, you come with the fresh new ideas, and then all of a sudden people who want to keep the status quo don't let you progress.
Right.
Well, two options. Either you are stopped, that's it. Or if you act as a water, you move a little bit left or to the right, you look for the, little hole in the wall, and you find your way through. So we need to behave as the water.
Two other people that said that. One of them is Lao Tzu in China a long time ago, and the other one was Bruce Lee, who was explaining martial arts.
So I have a good company there.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, exciting. So when people come to visit and they have the labyrinths and all these suggestive things to open up their awareness, are you having classes and workshops and things like that?
Yes, exactly. We do have workshops, we do have lectures, we do have conferences, we do have, our guides in the park also. We have our official guides in the tunnels, on the pyramids. So we help them, But once they learned about the place, like the tunnels, we take them the first time with the guide. The second time, we have like two different tickets. One is the official guide, the other one is called meditation ticket. The second time you go, you find your spot, and we have like 650 seating places in the tunnels. You find your chamber, you find your spot, you go there, meditate, spend half an hour, 45 minutes, refresh yourself. You got healing aspects, spiritual aspect. You get out, you go to the park, many activities there, especially during the days when our mother planet is strongest. First one, of course, summer solstice. This year, June 21st. Next year, June 20th. So, June 21st, summer solstice, the biggest festivities for us. Why? Well, we have people coming from all over the world. We have, Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims and Christians and atheists and, whatever. But we never, separate people because they belong to different religions or different countries or nations. Or we are looking for the stuff that unite us.
Right.
One of them is our mother planet. She is the strongest on June 21st. Daylight is the longest. The sun rays the strongest. Right. She is the healthiest. So at that day this year we had 4-day festival, with the concerts, with the meditations, and the gongs, and the drums, and the rock and roll music, and people are having a lot of fun. We got our fair, we got our 50 stands, where we invite people to, sell their organic food, homemade products, quartz crystal, minerals, honey products, nice stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful atmosphere there, the workshops and the yoga sessions and Tai Chi and this and that. So, we want people to feel good. And the entrance to all activities free of charge. Entrance to the park, we don't charge. All our installations, no charge. Parking lots, no charge. Like I said, I want to bring freedom back to the people. And this is how they feel when they come to us. What we have been building here, really, it's a different community than what we can meet on different sides of the world. Like, for example, in Italy, there is a community called Damanhur. Damanhur is like a little country within big country of Italy. They even have their own money, they have their ambassadors, they have, it's actually 1,500 people living in several villages, very spiritual, combining physical and spiritual aspect. No smoking, little bit of alcohol, one glass of wine or so, but very beautiful community. There is another one in India called Auroville. Auroville in southeastern India, they have 49 nations there. They have, part of the village called Bulgaria, Africa, Germany, Canada, America, and so on. Beautiful example where, almost 50 nations live in harmony. Then some kibbutz in Israel, also with those ideas of spirituality. But these are communities, close communities. And sometimes you can see the power struggle. I want to be ambassador. I want to deal with money. I want to be the president. I want to be a project manager. Well, in the case of Bosnian pyramids, we don't have this power struggle. We don't have this structure. Even myself, who's, I'm the founder of the foundation, but I don't breathe behind the necks of my volunteers or my workers, telling them every 5 minutes how much they need to do, telling them about their productivity. I treat them as normal, responsible persons. They do their stuff. I'm always supportive. So what we are doing, it doesn't matter if you came for 1 hour, one short visit to the tunnels, or 3 days to visit all the pyramids, or 20 days to be volunteers, or to come year after year. We are building open community. And those people, they got touched by the pyramid energy. So they became part of the pyramid family.
Right. And now, normally you don't have people living on site, right?
No, we don't have people living on site. We don't have our hotels. We don't do commercial stuff.
Yeah.
So the only way, we charge for the tickets for the tunnels and the pyramids and a few books and souvenirs and sometimes organized groups, they last for 1 week or so. And donations, we take them, people, we have donation boxes, people leave a few bucks or, whatever. So it's not much money, but it does help us, And like I said, from my business in Houston, all the money I make there, boom, property.
So mostly you're just supporting it yourself, right, from your other business.
Exactly.
At the moment.
Yes.
And I think what's interesting about it, I mean, the sincerity and focus that you're pouring into it is what, fertilizes the whole thing to grow. But one of the things that would be really nice to have a positive impact on going into the future is the situation now where most people, there's this division between what you do for money and what you love to do. And it almost never coincides. Like in America, we have 90% of the people don't like their work at all. And they just do it because they have to. And so big groups that are kind of confused are saying, well, the solution is just government give us everything free. They don't realize that they'd have to steal it from everybody else to do that. But there's got to be a harmonious situation where the whole issue with money is solved.
Yes.
I think that would be good to look
Two
at.
examples. I mentioned Damanhur in Italy. Italy, of course, the capitalist country. And what you just described, that's exactly what we have there. People do stuff they have to do so they can make money and they can pay bills. Well, in Damanhur, I met people. For example, the guy was a truck driver. He hated his job. He left that. He came to Damanhur. What he does now, he restores the work of art, mostly ancient art, and then they sell those pieces.
Okay.
Then I met another girl. She was doing hairdresser or something. She came to Damanhur. What she does now, she makes a beautiful chocolate cakes and cookies. And I mean, she's an artist. She's very thin, but she's an art. She does what she loves to do.
Yeah.
So and then of course Damanhur is also open for the tourists. They sell the souvenirs. They sell whatever food and drinks and stuff like only healthy stuff. So there is a way, even in our society, that people can find a job within the field that they would like. The second option. Let's look at my case. I started business when I came to States almost 30 years back to Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. I started working for somebody. After 3 years, I started my own business. It was tough. I mean, working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, manufacturing. You need to establish the business. You need to survive. Chances were statistically 10%. But since I was foreigner, no money, no backing by parents, by banks, but 1%, I did survive. But the price was high. I mean, 16 hours a day, every day, it was tough for years.
Yeah.
I did survive. And then I was, growing the business. I went from 5 people to 15 people to 20 to 50. By 2007, I had 120 people. If I stayed in the business, by now, 15 years later, probably I would have 5,000 people. I would be millionaire.
Right.
And in another 10 years, I would be probably, maybe not billionaire, but I would have a lot of money, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
But then in your 70s or 80s, you turn back, what did you do? You were making money. Right. That was the purpose of the life. So I basically find the right moment to say, hey, this is what we made. Now I will let my managers run the business.
Right.
And of course, it hasn't been always a smooth process. Right now I have a good guy running the business. So, so I receive some money as, of course, the president and the owner. But then I can do stuff that I love. I don't have a job here, but I'm running a huge project. And, one day it's archaeological digging, next day it's promotion. Today I had the delegation from China. We are opening Chinese market. Tomorrow I'm having the delegation from the government. Yesterday I had the group from Holland and Italy. Tomorrow I travel. I publish another book. I do my lectures. I organize life the way I want. And still, I find a way to rest. I just came back from 2-week vacation with my wife. That's why the tan from Turkey. I loved it. And then, you find a way and you enjoy the life.
Yeah, yeah. So when you look at the vision that is the foundation of the whole project there, what does it look like for the time that hasn't happened yet?
Well, I can see that all the aspects I was talking about, archaeology and science and energy and spirituality and the healing and all these others, they will grow and, we will have our managers. Instead of the small, groups for the healing, we're going to have probably a clinic. We are building facility for archaeologists, geologists. Instead of the smaller, museum exhibition, we're going to have a much bigger museum with the artifacts and the stories. And instead of 35 guides, tomorrow we're going to have 100 guides. We're going to be growing in all this field, affecting everything, affecting history books, affecting how the archaeology has been done, how the scientific work has been done, how you have to be open, how the global consciousness, it's going to have a huge impact.
Right.
The whole world.
In the past, it seems like the pyramids that are all over the world in these specific locations, they were a conscious network. They just weren't detached from each other. And it was affecting the whole global energy field. and everything that happened physically. Maybe this is the beginning of a new network.
Yes,
You know.
we are coming back to that. I truly believe so, because we were able to see that some of the Mexican pyramids, like the Pyramid of the Moon in Teotihuacan, has this energy beam, and the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza has the energy beam. It's just a matter of time when the archaeologists and the governments will have to let engineers and medical doctors, geophysicists, and other scientists get down to the bottom of the true purpose of all these pyramids. And once they realize that some of them are still working,
Right.
there would be a way technically to make a network. Once you make a network, once the network has been made, then you can affect the societies. You can make a protective shield. You can influence society in the best and beneficial way.
Well, just uncovering them and putting attention on them, the pyramids themselves should reactivate the network, right?
Yes, exactly.
They'll communicate with each other without the humans, or to the benefit of the humans and all the other life forms.
Exactly right.
So, yeah, pretty bright potential, I think.
Yes.
So, well, I only have like 100 other subjects that we didn't get around to covering yet, but
I think next time we'll probably do something else than Bosnian pyramids. But for me it's so exciting, and then I was bringing you a lot of news and updates.
Yeah.
But yeah, next time we can do some other stuff. We can I'm doing such amazing tours. Like this May I was in Turkey. I was doing Göbekli Tepe, the oldest conventional temple on the planet, over 12,000 years old. I was doing so-called Nimrod Pyramid, or they call it Nemrut Mountain. Somebody dumped 75,000 tons of rocks and pebbles on the top of the mountains. I mean, doesn't have any other explanation.
Right.
And then some beautiful places, Hattusha megaliths and stuff. Turkey is an amazing country. And so many amazing places. Every February, me and Michael Tellinger, we do a tour in South Africa, Swaziland, Zimbabwe. We go out there. We can see those stone circles. You can explain them. There are thousands and thousands of them. No entrances, no doors, no windows, no roofs. Why would somebody make such closed circles using smaller granite plates? No explanation. You would need army of hundreds of thousands of workers, which are not existent there thousands of years back. You go to Swaziland, iron mine, officially 43,000 years old, probably more than 100,000 years old. I talked to the guy. I said, why do they, mining the iron? They said, well, so they can make the tools and weapons. But I said, Iron Age started 3,000 years ago, not 43,000 years ago. So you see places around the world that are so amazing, Peru and Bolivia and Central America. So many things to talk about. So next time, I promise, no Bosnian pyramids.
No.
We're going to do other stuff.
Okay, but this was perfect. I think this is a really important foundational understanding from which to talk about the other points in the network.
Yes.
Because the reactivation point could be the one that you're uncovering and developing. And I'm sure all of these other points are already aware of what you're doing and getting ready to wake up again. It's almost like the feeling I get is these governments, not the people so much, although they tend to be brainwashed by the governments, but these governments that are sitting in control of each of these countries are like little badly behaved kids who have taken over the houses of these vast conscious, civilizations in the past whose memory and energy is still there. And it's like waiting to see when it's going to wake up and come back again and change everything. It's a really interesting time in history.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you seem to be open to coming back again and talking some more. I think that would be great. And you mentioned Turkey. I don't think very many of the people really know much about Turkey. Maybe, along with other things, we could talk about that.
We'll start with Turkey next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay. We'll talk to you soon, and thank you, Sam. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, man.
Okay, everybody, there goes Dr. Sam Osmanagich and his incredible project in Bosnia. I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. And he gave us his websites to remind you of, which is Bosnian, Bosnian Pyramid, no S on that, bosnianpyramid.org. And his books are available, and he doesn't even charge you to read them. It's books by drsam.com, booksbydrsam.com. And there's no dot after doctor. It's just booksbydrsam.com. Lots of incredible information, and it's free. And then stay in touch with us, because as the censorship ramps up, we don't want to lose touch with you, okay, after all this time. And you can keep up with what we're doing at lostartsradio.com. And we're moving a lot of new video productions onto brighteon.com. That's bright, B-R-I-G-H-T, eon, E-O-N, brighteon.com/channel, CHANNEL, /Lost Arts, plural, Lost Arts Radio. And then finally, we got a new Subscribe Star channel to help keep us on the air and hopefully fund our projects. And if you have funds to help us with that, even if it's just a little, that would be incredibly good. If you like our content and the things that we have in mind to build, that's at subscribestar.com/Lost Arts Radio, subscribestar.com/Lost Arts Radio. It's just starting out. We're hoping there's enough interest where you guys can keep us going and keep the work happening by visiting that. And of course, planetaryhealingclub.com if you're interested in getting into the personal interior work that we talked about briefly with Dr. Sam and other times too. If you're ready for that, and it's not something for the general public, I think it's not a spectator type sport, but if you're ready to transform your own life, which Sam agreed was the way to have an impact on the future of the world, you might want to join us, and you can access that through the portal at planetaryhealingclub.com. So I'm really glad that you were able to share this discussion with Dr. Sam with us. Please share it with everybody else that you think might have an interest in the information he's giving out and the work he's doing. And remember, he said if you can't come visit physically in Bosnia, just get YouTubes and watch them, YouTube videos about the work that's going on there. And his emphasis is on everything as much as possible, free for everybody so that nobody is left out. Incredible energy that's being concentrated there, building toward opening up the network of this pyramid complex all over the world. It's going to be kind of exciting. We got a lot of things in what he said tonight that are worth thinking about. And the bottom line at the end of it is coming back to what you are doing internally that doesn't cost you any money or anything. It's just your focus and willingness to get beyond the programming that can take over your life and make you live your whole life as a hypnotized zombie. You know, we're all pulled in that direction toward virtual reality and toward underestimating what is dormant in you. It's not an ego thing. It's the opposite. It's once you start becoming aware of it, you realize who everybody else is too, that they're the same kind of incredible beings, even underneath the so-called bad guys, which are pretty bad now. The same kind of being is held captive there, as is held captive in us. And if you want to help them and everybody else, including people close to you, it's all dependent on the internal work that you do to transform your own life and yourself, and that comes from consciousness and from changes, upgrades in your own physical habits that you're attached to every day, gradually changing them for the better. And if you want support for that, you might want to check out planetaryhealingclub.com. I'll be there live every week, and with that group, it's on a private platform, so we can talk freely and we don't get censored, and it's pretty neat. So look at it if you want to help us further and help yourself. In the meantime, watch for our videos that we'll put up on all the major channels during the week, and hope to see you at next Sunday's show too. And have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Introducing Lost Arts Radio on Subscribestar.com. Just go to Subscribestar.com/LostArtsRadio to find our rewards program, offering 10 different giving levels starting at just $5 a month. We offer incredible value for any rewards level, from extra monthly interview videos not available publicly to subscription-based Planetary Healing Club videos once, twice, or 3 times a month, to private counseling sessions with Lost Arts Radio host Richard Sachs, to tech help with me, Doug Diamond. We even have one option where you can be the star on Lost Arts Radio as our guest on a specially produced show just for you. We conduct an interview with you and broadcast it to our growing network and listenership. Our Subscribestar levels are one of a kind and offer great rewards for any budget. Please help support Lost Arts Radio. We can't do it without you. With increasing censorship on many of our channels, we really need your support today to keep doing what we're doing. As Richard says, we're not even at survival level yet. Lost Arts Radio has 3 weekly shows. Lost Arts Radio Live each Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, which is a live stream currently on multiple platforms in case we get banned from some of the larger ones. Right now, we're on 2 YouTube channels, Facebook Live, Periscope, which is Twitter, Twitch, and DLive. You can access these broadcasts by going to www.lostartsradio.com/live for all the links to those channels. The Planetary Healing Club meets right after Lost Arts Radio Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Saturday nights. And our Sunday show with guests airs at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday nights on our Blog Talk Radio channel, our YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and on Brighteon. Be sure to sign up for our free email list just in case we do get banned on big tech's platforms. It's just a matter of time, really. They don't like the stuff we talk about, and they do not want the truth out there. In fact, they have already attacked us numerous times. Join our free email list so we can let you know where we are and how to access our shows. The sign up button is right on the top right on most pages of our website. The best starting point for all things Lost Arts Radio is our main site, lostartsradio.com, where you can find the hottest news selection videos that we curate just for you. Those are on the homepage and added to daily, as well as articles and breaking news about information you really need to know. Our show archives, the 10 most recent shows, are right on our homepage, as well as our Blog Talk Radio page at blogtalkradio.com/lostartsradio, or just click the All Things Radio Show tab right on our website. We're in the podcast directory on iTunes, and all of our shows except the banned ones are on our YouTube channels at Lost Arts Radio and at Diamond Disc. Our Brighteon page is really taking off, and we often have editors' picks videos right on their homepage. Visit brighteon.com/channel/LostArtsRadio. On our site, you can also access our free listener forum as well as sign up for the Planetary Healing Club, which is just $25 a month, where you get private access to a one-on-one interaction with host Richard Sachs and myself and the other club members who participate live. More info can be found at planetaryhealingclub.com. We're providing solutions in there to make the world a better place. Come join us. Stay tuned, because up next, you'll get to hear a really great song by an independent artist that we're doing our best to support. Go to lostartsradio.com/music for the full list of all the great songs and bands that we spin on our audio-only podcast shows. If you're in a band and want to submit a song for consideration for airplay on Lost Arts Radio, visit my website at diamonddiscaudio.com for more information about the music placement, mastering, and mixing work that I do. Thanks again for listening to and supporting Lost Arts Radio. We love having you as part of our family to learn, experience, and grow with.
I have seen lights greater than the sea skyline, more than 9 lights in 27 years gone by. safety of silence, and falling asleep angry at myself ever since. And the ordinary words might have set this night on fire with promises unspoken. Finally, this heart is open to your devotion. I have seen hate triumph over compassion, suicide sanctions from nation to nation. But I have seen love's triumph over final chances, and falling asleep safely